I used to dream of building things. I'd plan these futuristic, sci-fi-like gadgets, tiny computers, combinations of my favorite things to tinker with. I'd try to rig my big 8mm camcorders to helmets to emulate what I saw with my eyes, or how I'd wire things up to make it look like I was just writing with a keyboard and no big desktop powering the whole thing. The technology I had growing up was amazing, but it had so many limitations. Those limitations inspired me to find solutions that would overcome the tech's shortcomings and get out of my way, become invisible to my process so that I could just focus on the work, the craft, the art. So I could tell you about this video's sponsor, ARM, and their amazing technology, which is unfortunately not in this hunk of junk. Oh, what now? Great, my whole script is gone. I don't remember what I was gonna say. I can still remember the day I got to use a netbook for the first time. If you don't remember or weren't around yet, this little thing was called a netbook. It was like a laptop, but much slower. Laptops were still bulky, loud, and expensive, and frankly not that fast anyway. And some companies wanted to make a smaller, more affordable product for those who just wanted to surf the net, check emails, or write. In many ways, the netbook was an accessory to your standard laptop, which itself was an accessory to your home computer. I was excited to see a laptop which was so unbelievably small, booted up old familiar Windows XP, and was immediately disappointed. Sure, it may have been smaller and fit in my bag or on my lap more comfortably, but it was just so slow. And I'm not talking about old technology was slow compared to today's slow, but even for the time, it was a snail. These things often came equipped with a webcam and other media features, but video was basically out of the question, and anything beyond patient email archiving or word processing was just an act of masochism. Sure, with today's resources, I could throw in an SSD in there, install a super lightweight Linux distro, and if I'm lucky, replace the battery and get it sort of operational again. That was definitely not an option back then and would leave you today with a computing experience that you would still probably want to get away from. A brief extension of your home computer or normal laptop was the best these little machines could hope to be. Meanwhile, today it's less common to see homes with desktop computers at all. We have mini PCs smaller than bricks, laptops the size of literal paper notebooks, and paper-thin tablets and wallet-sized smartphones that are incredibly powerful and can replace so many households' needs for a desktop PC for gaming, creative work, web browsing, and more now. If you had told me, back when I was excited to see how small they could make this single-core netbook and everyone's computer desks looked like this, that as an adult I'd be wearing something on my head that could not only display images of games to both of my eyes, but also map things to the real world with pass-through cameras and even house the computer running all this magic without weighing a ton, well, I'd probably believe you. We believed a lot of things about what the late 2010s and onwards would look like, but I'm confident I'd think there'd be a huge catch to such a claim. We're living through a home computing revolution of sorts, and much of that is thanks to ARM. ARM designs CPUs that get used to build all sorts of powerful products and allows those products to keep getting smaller and more efficient. Fast, portable, and high-performance processors have been ARM's mission since the company was born in a barn in Cambridge, England more than 30 years ago. That mission has led them through decades of innovation, bringing us products and services that we could have only dreamed of back when they were being founded. I've shown you how ARM penetrates nearly every gadget market I utilize in my studio, how they empower Raspberry Pis to help you build your own projects and gadgets, and more. Today, ARM is in most of the tech around us, from TVs, phones, laptops, watches, VR, automotive, and AI-enabled solutions. ARM-powered CPUs are also present in this box of goodies. This is the Home Assistant Green, a private and local smart home hub. My dad works in industrial HVAC, doing air conditioning and heat pumps for major corporations and hospitals and things like that. I've seen the kind of insane hardware that used to be required to run smart home style hardware before. This tiny box has a powerful ARM-based CPU in it and is all you need to get started automating your home. And with this little Zigbee dongle and all those Sonoff devices that I got here, I can turn my studio and home into an easily controllable yet secure smart home. Setup is super easy. Just plug in power and Ethernet, wait for it to boot up, connect to it via the app or your web browser, and follow the steps. Once it's done the initial setup, which is mostly just tapping next a couple times, you can make your smart home network, and Home Assistant will start finding other devices that it can interact with. That was huge for me. Like, I already had these Sonoff sensors that I'm going to be using for detecting moisture, whether my door's open in my studio so I know if anyone snuck in or not, and things like that. But it also picked up all of my Elgato LED lights, for example. And with that, I'll be able to set up an automation to automatically turn on those lights when I walk into my studio. so I can just have it ready to film. It can also interface with my Nanoleaf lights up there, Philips Hue, LG Smart TVs, Apple TV, and so on for all sorts of wacky interactions. With the Z-Wave devices, I can track room humidity near my 3D printer, wire up specific devices to the network for controlling if they don't already have a smart switch, detect human presence or movement, door openings for security like I already mentioned, and all of the processing for this is handled not in the cloud, but in this tiny device the size of a Game Boy or a Nintendo DS, thanks to the powerful, efficient ARM processors inside. The last result of this home computing revolution that I want to mention is bringing AI workflows to the edge, to devices that you actually hold in your hand at home. There's been no end of concern about the energy usage of AI and what impacts that could be. And as I've discussed before, ARM is helping companies reduce the power consumption of their AI cloud workflows and optimize their silicon specifically for these workloads. Another way that power consumption is being reduced is by us having efficient enough hardware in our hands to run AI workflows more locally instead. This is seen in the little things, such as my cameras having AI trained subject detection to detect, well, humans, animals, planes, and even track them in my space with pan tilt zoom capabilities, or our phone cameras automatically taking a handful of various exposures and configurations for every photo and seamlessly combining them into a more technically perfect result. We see this in bigger scenarios, such as the recently announced Nintendo Switch 2's camera feature, being able to leverage AI to superimpose a cutout of players over top their gameplay and group calls, and AI assistants running on our phones and laptops, allowing us to run the tasks that we want on our devices right now rather than waiting on cloud infrastructure. Plus, our privacy is better protected by having these things processed locally than shipped off to services outside of our device too. I remember when technology was super exciting, when it felt like every year we had a paradigm-shifting innovation come to market. Then it feels like we had a long dry spell where technology kept getting more powerful, but kind of lost that sense of wonder. I think we've finally come back around to things being very exciting again. You just have to look a little closer because everything's gotten so small. Remember to be kind, rewind.